Well, that's okay, actually. Can people hear me okay? Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, state of our city. Well, I can speak for myself mostly. I came down 25 years ago from Fairbanks, and I like here pretty much. I'm used to it, and I'll probably be staying for a little while. And I'm going to show you a few reasons now, if you just mark. We'll see, this is Anchorage Bowl, and the river and Anchorage didn't fit very well, not to knock them down. It's great places to be. Now, I've lived in several places, split the mark, and pretty happy wherever I live, all different parts of Anchorage. And then we talk about flipping some of the places I shop and I eat are up there, and it all makes life pretty good. I got some of my own stores I marked up there, and places I own a couple of houses and a building. And then you add in some places here where, my kids go to school, church, scouts, all those different things we do as a family. So we're kind of covering a lot of Anchorage here. And then I like to play. So the next one shows places I like to play. So this is a really good town. We like to recreate outside. I told my kids when they grew up, I said, we don't go outside to stay clean, come back dirty, and there's a lot of opportunity here. So for me, state of the city is remarkable. It's very good. Now, that's now, but change is coming. The city's grown since I've been here, and it will continue to grow. And our comprehensive plan that was written in 2001 thought we'd have 20 or 30,000 more people in 20 years, and maybe that won't happen, but we just did another housing market study earlier this year, and it figured around the next 20 or 30 years we'll have 20 or 30,000 people show up. And an interesting part of that is they said that if we develop like we've been developing, in that time we will be 9,000 housing units short of what we need to house these people. So things are going to change. We're going to get a little more crowded. And something that is going to be very different from the previous changes, we could kind of like spread out and just go to the next empty lot. But that's not going to happen so much because we kind of bumped into the boundaries. So the change will be coming to your neighborhood. And what we're doing is tearing down the old buildings and filling the vacant lots. It'll be a very different kind of growth than we've seen in the last many decades. So how are we going to handle it? Well, let's see how it's done in other places. This is a short history of America here, and it starts off on the top left, just nature running wild, pretty typical. And you see a train, which is kind of like Anchorage, we're a railroad town, up in the airport. And then as you kind of move along, more people move in, little buildings, some apartment buildings and so on. Maybe there's a store and a factory, and we end up at the lower right-hand corner. Flip that mark. And that is here. Now, where is this? Surprisingly enough, it's right over here on Bernard Road, isn't it? Maybe it's South Anchorage, it's over Valley, or maybe it's Mountain View or Fairview. We see this, so back up there. We see this so many times all around the city, but no one would choose this. And when you have visitors to town, you would say, hey, I know this cool place, let's go here, okay? But we often end up here. And, why is that? Well, to prevent that, we come up with rules. Okay, and in Anchorage, our land use rules are Title 21 of our kind of set of our laws. Now, before I get too deep, Title 21 is not our building code. It is not our health and safety code. It's not traffic laws, though it's closely intertwined with those. And it's definitely not the United Nations Agenda 21. Okay, we can talk more about that later if you want. So, now, a lot of land use planning and zoning is where you can do the stuff you want to do, where the houses go, the stores go, and factories go, and the electric utilities and so on. And sometimes you can blend those together, and we get these colorful maps that kind of tell us where those things will be allowed. And another big component is how the various uses of the land get along. And I don't know if any of you have ever been to a community council meeting, but a lot of times on those, typically it's people butting heads. They both have property or something like that. They want to do what they want to do with it, but they're infringing on each other's property rights somehow or another, and you have these little battles. So you should check out those community councils because they're pretty lively sometimes. So we have this issue. We're going to grow. What are you going to do about it? So we got together in the 1990s and we wrote this little plan called Anchorage 2020. Okay, looks like that. Colorful pictures. He said, well, here's some things that we want to do. Now we're going to play a little game here, and it's going to be good and bad. And I don't have much time, so it really helps I found if everybody just nods and agrees with me. Okay? So we're going to practice that, okay? Yoda is good. Darth Vader, bad. Okay, pretty good, okay. Next, Superman. Superman is good, okay. Doomsday is very bad, okay. See how easy this is? So just stick with this and we'll all get along fine. Okay, next one, walking is good. What we said in our comprehensive plan is we want a better walking and biking town. We can get around not only by cars, so this is good. This is bad. You see this all over town. So Granny out there pushing a little walker with no sidewalk in the winter. Bad. Okay, we also want services nearby, so we can go shopping, but we don't want like really big stores. It's got to fit our neighborhood. So here's a couple of good examples. Cigar, and this is that little bakery down in South Edition. And then there's some bad examples, and this is Inland Tower's not a bad building, but it's right in the middle of the neighborhood, and kind of cast shadows on folks. And then you have a storage place, which is a good thing, but maybe not next door to that poor apartment building that doesn't see a lot of sunshine right now. Okay, we also, we're going to get crowded, so we're going to get apartment buildings. And we want those things to look kind of nice. So here's a nice example, and it has some private open space in front, which is very important. We like that space. And then there's some bad examples. Here's some space. Here's your little playground. Here is the little swale in between the canyons and the buildings. Okay, we also want our houses to look like homes. So here's a good example here. Okay. And here's an example. This is actually a house for cars that people may or may not live in. So when we do our apartment buildings, we're going to get crowded. So we got to kind of go up and get people places to live. And here's a kind of nice example. And then that was maybe not so good. Okay. What else do we have here? Oh, here's another good. We like our landscaping. Now, this is not a plush park here, but you know, for an acreage level apartment lot, it's got some vegetation in it, which is kind of nice. And this is the more typical scenario here. If there's a twig, it fell off someone's shoe or something on the ground. So very bare. Okay, we also want to preserve our natural vegetation. It's really hard for trees to grow here, so if you can save it, maybe we should save it, and that's been a goal. So here it was done very well, and here not done so well. They cleared it and the whole pit came down. We also, people don't like those dumpsters, okay? So here's a good example of a dumpster. Yay, credit union one, you can't even see it. And then the more typical scenario, which is right down the street here, this is, I think it's 26th, might be 27th, that we line our streets with the dumpsters. Okay, now good, we want some design standards, we said. We want our buildings to look a little bit nicer. So this is kind of good. This is Walmart on design standards, okay? And the next one, this is Walmart not on design standards. Maybe you remember the one that was in Midtown, and it grew up and LA fancied it up a bit, which was nice. Okay, so that was pretty good. Okay, good, Kirk, right? Good to be there, and... Okay. I understand that some of these issues there's room for reasonable discussion. Hard's not my kind of guy, but I know some of you. So there is some, you know, there's been a lot of discussion on all these good and bad things for the last decade as we've worked on writing our land use laws to fit the guidance of our comprehensive plan. And in fact, our comprehensive plan isn't just this one document. Comprehensive plan is a whole variety of documents that tie in with it. And every one that has been written since 2001, when that comprehensive plan was done, has reiterated that we want open space, we want to protect our vegetation, we want to keep these things that really put those smiley faces on the map while we grow, we'll accommodate that growth. Okay, so we have said that as citizens time and time again as we develop these plans. But in the process of writing our land use plans, which should, our land use laws, which should bring to us the goals spelled out in the plans, there's been recently a U-turn. When it went to the Planning and Zoning Commission, they said, well, I think we changed our mind. Okay, and they were very overt on this. They said, we don't really want that stuff so much anymore. We just want to be cheap. So that has moved on, and now their rewrite of the code has gone to the Assembly, and many on the Assembly also feel that way, that, you know, we don't really care about those things so much. So it's a little bit of a concern, I would think. So, next. Okay, so you need to ask yourself, what makes you happy to live in Anchorage? Okay, what are those things? And that's how we start these land use planning things. Where do you want to end up here? And between these two ranges here, there's really quite a bit of space where we can end up. So, in my book, state of the city is great right now. But the big question is, where will we be 20 years from now? And you can help decide that, and probably in about 40 days. At the Assembly meeting, right now it's scheduled for January 15th, they'll have a public hearing about the current version of the land use code. Hopefully will bring us the city that we looked for in our comprehensive plan.